I have hundreds of plants inside my house, and the reason why that's such a feat is because our houses are pretty dark. Even if you have lots of windows, I promise you are not getting as much light into your house as you think, because our eyes naturally adjust to lower light levels. So we're used to the idea that our houses are bright enough for us to see. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bright enough for a plant that's in full sunshine outside to thrive inside the house. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things. I'm going to help you find the brightest spots in your house. I want to make sure that you have a list of plants that are going to do really well inside those lower light conditions in your house. And I also want to give you a few ideas on how to artificially bring enough light into your house for you to grow the plants that you want to have, because maybe you don't have those big bright windows and you still want a plant that can get a lot of sunshine and live its best life. So firstly, the one behind me is one of my favorites for low light conditions. This is a philodendron. It's one of the larger ones. The variety is called cortatum, but there are plenty of philodendrons that will survive inside and also look really nice inside a house, and it won't be this big. Like, for example, this one was really popular a couple of years ago, Pink Princess. This was a really expensive plant, but fortunately the price has gone down significantly because some of these expensive plants are actually worth the hype. There's this beautiful pink marking on it, which I love the pink marking on these leaves. I have it on this little totem pole because it does like to climb, and it does very, very well in low light conditions. I do bring it outside during the summertime right along my pond. Ooh, I've got some mealy bugs on this. Not a huge issue, but I definitely need to put some neem oil on this guy. But yeah, it's thriving. It's a very, very happy plant. Unfortunately, it's next to a plant that's not so happy, so it does have some mealybugs from that plant next door. And monstera are another fantastic plant for inside the house. And most of the time, monsteras get really big, but Thai constellation, which was also at one time a ridiculously expensive plant that's gone down in price, I've noticed Thai constellation gets those beautiful fernestations, those beautiful holes in the leaves at a much younger age, and it also stays a much more manageable height. So I have this pretty close to my north-facing window, never gets any direct sunlight, and it just does so well inside the house. So all of these plants also, I have bromeliads inside the house, get very little light. Peace lilies get very little light. There are some palm trees like Chamaedorea, also known as a parlor palm. These are very low light plants. So just a small suggestion on plants that can handle low light. Now, low light doesn't mean no light. Unfortunately, these plants do need a bright room. They just don't need to be frying on a really bright windowsill. In fact, orchids don't want to fry on a bright windowsill. You want to keep them on a north-facing window where they get indirect sunlight. There are some orchids that do like a lot of light, but for the most part, those common Phalaenopsis orchids that you're going to find at the grocery store, you want to keep those in a bright room, away from heaters, and not necessarily in direct light. This is my brightest window. It faces south. Here's that Phalaenopsis orchid, which I actually do have near the window, but it's not against the window. It's not getting direct light from the window. And that's a point that I want to make for you, that even if you have a really bright window, it doesn't necessarily mean that your plant is benefiting from all of that light, or in the case of my orchid, getting harmed by too much light. So the reason why you want to have a bright south-facing window is so that way light can stream in. But think about it, full sun plants, I'm sorry, my house is a mess. There we go. Neem oil, an essential cooking ingredient apparently. Is anybody else relating to that? Because I'm telling you, like, my kitchen sink is literally a potting station this time of the year. Anyway, so this is a very bright area of the house. It gets direct sunlight about 3 or 4 hours out of the day, but a plant that requires full sun still needs 6 or more hours of direct light. So those full sun plants, even against your brightest windowsill, they're not getting the light that they need. For example, if you want to start tomatoes, peppers, any really summer vegetable inside the house, a windowsill is not going to be bright enough for them to sprout. You're going to need grow lights. So that is my hack. If you do not have enough light in your house, you just make your own light. Any light can be a grow light. And I'm going to show you mine. I have this, which is just a regular light that has specially fitted spectrum bulbs in it. See, look how bright that is. So it is brighter than a usual light, but you could just use a regular light bulb if you really wanted to. As long as it's spread out evenly enough, the plant is going to benefit. About 6 inches away from the top of the foliage is what you want to get the best benefits from grow lights. You don't want a grow light that's like 2 feet away from your plant. You do want it to be relatively close to your plant. Here's another grow light that I have. So I do have these over the plants that require a little bit more light than others. My old man palm, this is native to Cuba. I'm not getting enough light for a plant that requires full sun in Cuba. That's just not happening in my house. I am basically growing this in the equivalent of full shade, even with these grow lights. But it's happy. This is my old man palm, a Coccothrinax, which grows on cliffs. Again, very hot climate. Licuala grandis actually doesn't have high light requirements, but it does still require more light than my house can provide for it. So it has 24/7 grow lights, and I keep it about 6 inches away. This grow light actually got a little bit too close to my Musa AA banana. So you can see the white markings are normal for this banana because it is a variegated banana. That's what we love about it. But these little brown markings that you see here, that's because this grow light got a little too close. And it's actually not hot. It's cool to the touch because it's LED. That kind of burn that you're seeing is because of the intensity of the light. So about 6 inches away is what you want. This was closer than 6 inches, and that's why it got a little damaged, those leaves. But even with the grow light, this plant is not getting the light that it needs. I wouldn't exactly say it's dying, but it's not really actively growing. It got 1 leaf inside the house, and honestly, that's a win. This is starting to yellow and overall just not really thrive inside the house in general. So I am excited to bring it outside where it will thrive during the summertime. My citrus, I keep dormant inside the house. My house is at 60 degrees most of the winter Fahrenheit. And that is the secret to keeping the citrus happy, is that I'm just keeping them from growing as best as I can. I do have one citrus that has decided to grow anyway. My Ponderosa lemon has some flower buds on it. And the thing is that these flower buds are actually developing from energy that was stored after it was growing over the autumn time outside. So I really don't want it to actively be growing inside the house. It has decided that it is going to actively grow anyway. So we're just gonna do what we can with this. I think overall it'll probably be perfectly healthy, but unfortunately citrus flush with growth, which means that it's growing now, so it's not gonna develop new leaves later. Usually it gets like maybe 2 flushes of leaves, one during the spring and one maybe early midsummer. So now I'm gonna have to wait for that second flush of leaves outside for it to grow properly. The hibiscus are all under grow lights, and what's so cool, I, by the way, love my orange bird of paradise. If you didn't watch that video, I hope that you get a chance to, because it is my favorite plant, and I love talking about it, and I really would love more people to grow this in their collections. But this hibiscus, which I'm gonna have to do a little gymnastics to get to, is just absolutely lovely right now. Look at those beautiful bright yellow flowers, an amazing plant that is blooming 100% because it's near a grow light. I would not be getting flowers otherwise. Here's another flower bud popping up right on that hibiscus. Skylights. If you've got them, use them. That's definitely helping with these plants in the kitchen. It brightens up the kitchen. It's not a lot of direct light, but certainly that indirect light does make a difference, especially for those plants that actually prefer lower light conditions. You might not think it, but these are helping kind of add a little bit of extra natural light. So although it may not be the direct light that this Bismarckia palm needs to thrive, it's given it enough sunlight to survive until it goes back out. And some of my other plants that actually don't mind lower light levels, like my Ficus taniki, it's doing great on a north-facing window. These north-facing windows are perfect for plants like that, and for pothos or pothos as I call it. I don't know which one is the right one. I have certainly heard them called both things. And the variegated plants especially really love a north-facing window. I actually noticed that the variegation on this plant has gotten stronger inside the house, although this new leaf is looking kind of green. You could see the one that just opened up before it has some absolutely gorgeous white markings. I'm going to move the camera this way because right now it's facing the window, so you're not seeing the really, really colorful white markings. Now you are. Just a spectacular plant that is loving this north-facing window. Pothos are a fantastic indoor plant. It's pretty much the best you can think of. I also love Dracænia. Also, you can notice that these leaves are pretty large. That's because it's growing on a pole. If you have one that's just sort of maybe not climbing, but instead trailing, like this pothos is, it's going to have those smaller leaves that I think are a little bit more classic, but I do love the bigger leaves, and I love Dracænias, which are also known as corn plants. These are all really stellar choices for lower light situations, especially if you have a bright window. This Aracia palm, this is a high light requirement for a plant. It's not going to thrive inside the house. It has some brown tips because the humidity is a little bit too low inside the house, but overall it's happy enough to survive. And that's the other tip. I bring 99% of these plants outside during the summer. So they are only temporarily inside the house, and that is why they look so nice and green, because this isn't their permanent home. They will get the light that they need during the summertime. I keep my house on the cooler side, around 60 degrees or so that way it's not actively growing inside the house, because that new growth is gonna be weak and it could totally burn off when it goes outside in the summer. When I bring them back out, I acclimate them full shade. Even if they're getting a lot of light inside the house, they need full shade when they go back outside, because the intensity of the light is so different inside the house than it is outside the house. Even on those brightest windows, it is just a very low intensity light compared to what happens outside. And the water loss from the wind is going to be a lot worse too outside. So there's just so many different factors going on. So all of these plants go back out into the shade and then eventually into the sun if they need the sunlight. And I really think that helps them out, because 7 months out of a year, they're doing their thing where they want to outdoors, and then they come inside and they will tolerate, 4, 5, 6 months inside a darker house. So if you have the luxury of doing that, that's going to help tremendously with getting your plants through the indoor months. You don't want it to actively grow inside, you just want it to be alive. But if you want that indoor plant collection all year long, then I really think your best bet is selecting low light plants that are low humid requirement plants too, because there's so many to choose from. They're so lush looking, so tropical looking. I mean, you can't tell me that philodendron is any less tropical than a banana or an elephant ear, but the difference is that a banana plant has really high humidity, high light requirements, and a pothos doesn't, and a philodendron doesn't, and they look really great. Also, don't forget to rotate your plants so that way they don't get lopsided. Oh, there we go. Rotate, yay, there you go. And one more fun thing before I go, we are now in mid-February, and the $2 poinsettias that I got from Home Depot are still nice and red. So let me know, do you still have some plants Christmas time still blooming? Because I got these in November, so they've been doing pretty good all winter long. The secret here isn't such a secret. It was just luck of a draw, because a lot of poinsettias have a fungus that they develop right in the center, and it comes with it. It's just something that happens, unfortunately, in some greenhouses, and it's fatal. But these didn't have that fungus, so they're doing really well. So I'm going to bring them outside during the summer, and they're going to grow, and Honestly, they'll probably keep their color until May or June before they start regrowing, and then we'll see if I can get them to rebloom for next year. Anyway, have a great one. I am literally in the forest right now. My favorite place to be. Look at how big this single palm frond is. It is huge. I don't know how I managed to squeeze all these plants into my kitchen, but I think, as you can tell, my kitchen is kind of not really a kitchen right now, and my dining room is definitely not a dining room, because that actually literally doesn't even have a dining room table anymore. It will in the summertime, but not right now. Okay, enough of that. See y'all soon. Bye!